I just got the results back from a comprehensive gut test called the Gut Zoomer, and it is so interesting. It tells you so much about your health. And here to talk more about that is dietitian nutritionist Georgia Saler, owner of Vitality Nutrition and Wellness Center in Linwood, New Jersey. Thanks so much for being here, Georgia.
You're welcome. It's so nice to be here.
The gut is a very important organ. There's so many sayings in the English language. I have a gut feeling. He has a lot of guts. Trust your gut. There must be a reason for that. Tell us why.
So our gut has relationships to our brain, to our immune system, really to every function in our body. So it really does know. There's actually more nervous system, enteric nervous system in our gut than anywhere else in the body. So it's super important to
How does
take
it
care of.
affect our immune system? A lot of people will be surprised to know that gut bacteria can affect our immunity.
Yeah, so basically in the lining of the gut, 70% of our immune systems are there in the GI tract.
And so what does that actually mean?
So there's a role of like if we are having too much inflammation or our immune system isn't if our gut isn't being taken care of, meaning we're not putting good foods in it, we're going to have a lot of inflammation and we're going to be subject to things like other pathogens, whether it's a bacteria, a virus, a parasite, toxins from radiation, just you name it, you're more at risk of it by not taking care of your digestive health.
We hear the word microbiome a lot. What exactly is that?
So we're talking about microbiome. There's many different microbiomes, but right now what we're talking about is the gut microbiome. So it's a bunch of different bacteria. There's, you could say good and bad, but they all have a function and we want them to work symbiotically. But many times there's dysbiosis. There's an overgrowth of certain ones and an under of the others. So the microbiome is basically when we're talking about that, it's different bacteria that we want to be, playing a role in working together with our bodies to keep bringing everything into balance.
So what are the factors that affect gut health? What can improve it and what can harm it?
So when we're talking about gut health, I'm going to break it into a couple different functions, but what's going to improve it is eating a varied diet. We talk about balance, moderation all the time. So that's and same thing with food. We want to eat a balance of your macronutrients. And so that's your carbohydrates, your proteins, your fats. That's important. And of course, everybody's body is individual. But then we want to focus on a variety of different foods and we want to focus on phytonutrients, plant-based foods, and many different kinds of variety. The more variety, the more color, the more diversity, the healthier we're going to be. At the same time, we want to focus that we're making sure that we're getting a good amount of fiber. Fiber is what's going to feed those good bacteria. And so a variety of fibers are going to be really important. So the more diverse, the more fiber, the healthier overall we're going to be. So that's like pretty much number one. The next thing that we're looking at is making sure that our body's digestion system is functioning optimally. That we're not bloated and we're not having indigestion, right? And we're eliminating 1 to 3 times a day. All those key factors play a role. So sometimes people need extra digestive support. Sometimes it's only for a short period of time until you bring the body back into balance. So sometimes they need digestive enzymes. Sometimes people need hydrochloric acid or apple cider vinegar, different varies of that.
What about
And then,
probiotics and prebiotics, and what is the difference?
okay, so probiotics, a lot of times people need probiotics. And like we were just reviewing that gut zoomer test, which when somebody does that, we can find out a probiotic is those good bacteria that we can heal that dysbiosis, that imbalance. And everybody's body's different. It depends on your own genetics. It depends on your own diet. It depends on your stress. There's different factors that can decrease certain bacteria because of stress. So probiotics are, I believe, they're good. Sometimes they can be found from foods, fermented foods, as functional foods, kimchi, sauerkraut, miso, tempeh, natto, kombucha, pu'er tea, all those different things that can help, but also can be found in a pill supplement. Prebiotics are those foods that I had already started talking about, those fiber-rich phytonutrient foods that come from fruits and vegetables, herbs and seeds, and nuts and whole grains, that all those plant-based foods are, all of them are prebiotic, and they all have different functions. Some are going to help improve your short chain fatty acids, which feed the good lining of the gut as well.
So
So
pre and probiotics sort of work together.
they do. So they so much work together. And sometimes I see people, well, I take a probiotic. Well, you might take one, but it might not be the right one for you. And actually it might be causing you harm. So it's good to kind of get to know really if you're having it's not going to cause any harm if you're not having digestive issues. But if you are taking one and you don't feel good from it, you might want to stop and see how you do, and maybe consider looking into some more testing to find out.
And that brings me to the gut zoomer test. That is why we should know exactly what's happening in our own body and our own situation. And I took that test with you and it was eye-opening. We talked about it before we started to record today. And all of a sudden I found out I'm wheat sensitive, I'm gluten sensitive, and I'm like blown away by that. But we went through this very extensive test. The report is unbelievable. But before we get into that a little bit more, talk to me about the gut zoomer and why it is so important for all of us.
So basically it's finding it's for you at this moment in time, giving you an imprint on what you personalized nutrition, on what your body needs. You get to see, am I eating? Because I really can tell if a person's eating a clean diet from this test, or they're drinking too much alcohol, they're eating too much sugar. I could tell if they're eating
There's a
enough
lot of
fiber.
people that won't want to do it. She's
Yeah,
gonna know.
well, but it's nice to be honest with ourselves.
Yes.
Sometimes we think we're doing good, but we're really not. We're not taking, looking at a lens of that, but we get to see about diversity. So everybody should do that, because what we talked about a little bit ago is like, if you don't know these things, or you're not feeling your best, your personal best, it's a great thing to do. But it can lead to, if your gut is out of balance, it can lead to so many issues. Of course, just being uncomfortable, not being productive at work or in your life because you have digestive issues. It could lead to where autoimmune conditions, depression, anxiety, there's so many things. So this test will help you be your personal best. So we get to see, okay, how is my digestion? How am I functioning? We talked about diversity. We get to see about that. Am I eating enough fiber? Okay, I really could increase my fiber, because remember, everybody's body is different. So you may be eating 25 grams of fiber, but this test is saying you need more because
Right,
your body
right.
needs
And I
personally.
learned that about myself. I eat a lot of vegetables, but maybe they're not as diverse as they should be. I don't really eat a lot of bread, but I'm finding now I have a wheat sensitivity. That was eye-opening to me. So, not like I never eat bread, but maybe the times I do, it causes some inflammation. And then I had a lot of markers for inflammation. And I was kind of shocked at that. But you and I have known each other a while, and I always talk about how my knees are always achy. My knees are always achy. And I thought, oh, it's just from playing tennis and it is what it is. But I think that I could possibly change my diet, reduce that inflammation, and maybe start to feel better. And it's kind of shocking because you think, oh, I have to stretch more, but that would be good. But there may be a little bit more to it than that.
Exactly. So what this test does, which is the best part about this test, is it tells you, helps you get to the root causes of what your issues are. So your root cause, for example, I don't necessarily want to disclose everything, but yes, there were a lot of inflammatory markers that were elevated. And the one that you're disclosing here is like you have a sensitivity to gluten that was contributing to your inflammation. To help with that is adding some, of course, increasing your anti-inflammatories, increasing color, those phytonutrients, pomegranates, and things of that nature. At the same time, we need to decrease that inflammation is to decrease, there was some microbial action that was related. So we want to decrease some of that. It's super simple to do, which we'll see all those go back into balance. And then we're going to add in some probiotics that are individual to you. You don't really like fermented foods. They're not really your thing, which is
Not my
fine. So
favorite. Nope.
we're going to recommend to take a supplement, and we might have 2 different probiotic supplements that we're going to add in a couple of months. So the first aspect is we remove any pathogens, and then we start to replace the gut flora, and that's the plan of action that we're going to do. So to add to the inflammatory markers, sometimes you can find out, is there in the root cause, is it a food sensitivity? Is it mold or some other toxin?
Sure. That could be. People don't often think about that. Yeah.
Just there's all these, or maybe my immune system isn't functioning to its capacity where we might need to add an immunoglobulin, or so there's so many different things that we'll be able to do. Or we might even say we need to send you over to the GI doctor to do some further research.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really have digestive issues per se. So I guess I'm only thinking about, oh, okay, this test is just going to just check on that. But there's so many more, as we discussed, and I know this from doing this for years. There are so many more issues related to the gut. But to think that my gut could affect my knees is really like, that kind of blows your mind a little bit. But it affects everything. It can affect brain fog, your mood, as you said. It is really sort of like the director of your body.
Even your blood sugar, right? So
Yeah.
like that one we were talking about, akkermansia, right? Being low, and it's commonly low in many foods. So if you're listening to this, I highly recommend you start to incorporate red polyphenol foods, pomegranate, cranberry and raspberries and things of that nature. But that being low can cause metabolic imbalances and increase your blood sugar, and at the same time causing damage to the lining of the gut. So there's so many facets of it. Like I can even see if somebody's cholesterol is being elevated, and from some of those different markers in the short chain fatty acids. So
It's
there's
amazing we don't have this as our test. When we get a blood test, we should also have this test as well, because just think of all the disease that could be, detected early and changed before it gets full blown into something even worse. It's unfortunate that this isn't part of our regular checkups, isn't it?
I agree. I think it would really change the health of the nation for sure. I think it
If
would be
people followed it. You can get your directions, but you got to kind of follow it as well. And,
so
but if
true.
you're
I've
feeling
had
lousy, you want to feel better.
Yeah, you got to, once you know it, because like you said, it's a 30-page test. It's very, very, very comprehensive. It's very detailed. And so you can't do everything all at once. So, it doesn't work like that. But if you really do your due diligence, you can change your health and feel so much better and prevent other things that could happen along the way.
That is what I've been talking about my entire life, Georgia, since I'm 22 years old, about how we are kind of the masters of our own destiny. There's certain things we cannot change, our genetics, and there's some issues we can't change. Our age, it is what it is. But there's a lot we can control. And it's just up to us. It's our choice on what we want to do. And sometimes you have to give up a few things. Big news flash in life. Sometimes to get something back, you have to give something up. That's just the way it is. And for anyone that tells you differently, I'm sorry, it's wrong. It's just the way life goes. So when you find out that you might have to cut back on a certain food, you're going to give that up, but you're going to gain something. You're going to feel better in the long run. Maybe if my knees stop hurting me a little bit, would be wonderful. Maybe I would feel a little bit better, as far as being able to get better sleep, those types of things. So you just think about, what you get back when you make a change in your health, even if it's a small change, as you said, could be something very small. Adding some probiotic to your body could make a difference.
Yeah, and one thing I do wanna bring up with this test and just in general is stress. Stress can have a huge impact on your health and your gut microbiome for per se. So really learning to manage your stress, can really make a difference, whether it's through meditation, getting out and walking, exercise, like Robin was talking about, sleep. But really learning to manage that is gonna make a huge difference, especially with somebody who is suffering with digestive disturbances. It's something that many people downplay that is I see it over and over again. There's this one marker called zonulin, and when that marker is elevated, Robin's was not, but when that marker is elevated, it's showing that there is stress in your body, and so that's really important to really
And
decrease because
like I gotta just say, you said this that was kind of crazy, that you had someone who had an elevation in that marker, but didn't feel stressed. But sometimes you're stressed and you don't really even know it. And that's a
Mhm.
crazy thing. You just live your life in a state of stress, but you don't even realize it. Just for example, I used to work for a TV station, and when that job ended, unfortunately, the station went off the air. My stress level went down. It took about 6 months to come down from that level of work and the fast pace. But I look back on that and I was like, I was stressed almost every day. Just my job just pulled everything out of me. And I didn't even know it. I just thought that that's how I was living. And I was on a gerbil wheel. And so many of us are. It's fascinating to me that I didn't even know it. I just thought that was how life was. And I think a lot of people live their life that way. Don't you agree?
I agree with you 100%, and can speak for myself too. Like, I know, like, I'm generally been pretty healthy, and I went through, having a couple hard, stressful years, and oh my gosh, my body started having sicknesses I never had before, right? So it really stress is huge in impacts our life. But I love what you said. I love the idea of being able to look at yourself and notice, like, how stressed am I? And then maybe what does calm me down, and learn what does calm you down and start to do more of those things, and it could be just slowing down a little bit, like Robin talked about that hamster wheel that you don't even know
Yes.
you're on,
You don't
right?
even know you're on. Sometimes saying no to something. I think, Georgia, I always say this, as horrible as the pandemic was. I mean, no one could say there was really, it was a good thing. But if you had to find a silver lining in it, I think a lot of people had a chance to really slow down and think about their lives, which we never do. We just keep getting up in the morning and turning off the alarm and going to work and taking care of the kids and doing our thing. And we're just moving, moving, moving. And that really made all of us stop. People changed jobs. They got, they changed their lives. They get out of relationships that weren't healthy. They really had a chance to think about it. And now we're back to back on the wheel again and going and going. And I think it would be a good thing to kind of think about those moments that we had when we were still, and how we kind of decompressed a little bit, as horrible as it was. It was a terrible time. But I think if you had to find a silver lining, people slowed down, and to try to find that again somewhere, somehow, take a walk in nature, read a book, whatever it is that makes you feel that feeling of, oh, for me, it's the beach. I love that. That just does it for me. A walk on the beach is like therapy. I don't have to pay for therapy after that. But everybody has their thing that makes them feel good. You love the woods. You love
Mhm.
being in nature in the woods. That's your thing. right?
Exactly. And when I go in the morning and I go for my walk, my day is definitely the stress of my day is down. I definitely am feeling better for that. Like, but like you said, we all need to find what it is for us, right? Sometimes like it's a yoga practice, or maybe it's going to the gym or meditating, right? But we need to figure out ours, because that is going to affect over the overall picture our microbiome. So yes, it's about diet, but it's also about our lifestyle. Are we moving our body? Are we taking care of our body? Are we in healthy relationships? Are we doing things that we love? They're all gonna.
Absolutely. And you mentioned relationships, I'm not going to get into the blue zones, but there are 5 areas in the world where people regularly live to 100. Very interesting. And one of the things is, when you say relationships, friendships, connections, you know, it's a huge part of health. And a lot of times we don't even really think about that. And, that was, speaking of COVID, that was a big problem then, because people lost connections with one another. But today we are fortunate that we have technology, and at least we can do things, via the internet. You can make a phone call to someone, or just try to get together with a friend. That improves people's health. It's kind of crazy, but it does. Don't you feel great after you've been with a friend? It's almost healing.
It is so healing, and laughing and connecting and just sharing. It like you said, it's super, super healing. So
Yes.
like I think what we're talking about is, it's really important to get to know ourselves. And yes, we can use this test to kind of like use it as like a microscope to be able to look at our lives in an honest way. But like we said, at the same time, looking at our personal lives on the outside. How are we happy? Are we managing our stress? There's.
Absolutely. That is so true. So that test is just one element, one aspect of what you do at Vitality. And once you get the results, then you work with someone to try to make changes in their lives. But you also work with people even without the gut zoomer, to help them with their nutrition. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Okay, so sometimes people come in and maybe it's something the doctor told them their cholesterol was elevated or their blood sugar was elevated. So we're gonna come in and just talk to them, no judgment, just get to know them, get to know their whole lifestyle, how they eat, and start to make changes that are doable for them and what they're willing to do. Whether it's you know, learning to put how to put together a plate. Maybe they want to add some certain supplements that, they don't want to take ones that don't work for them, but they know that it's important. Maybe somebody comes in because they have an autoimmune condition that they've been diagnosed and they don't know how to eat an anti-inflammatory diet. Maybe they want to lose some weight, right? That's another big one that people come in for. But we do work a lot with people who have digestive issues, because
And online and in person as well, right?
yep, we do both.
That is amazing, because our nutrition is just key to so many things in our lives. And a lot of times I think, people kind of are eating on the run, or they just kind of put it off. They know they should do better, but they're not really focused on it, because we all have so many obligations, especially for parents with children. They're kind of focused on them. But I always look at it like, take care of yourself. You know how they say, put your oxygen mask on first when you are on an airplane, because you want to be around for your kids. You want to be there for them. You want to be as healthy as possible, to be able to, take them to their games or be present for the things that they're doing. And if you're not feeling good about yourself, it is hard to be present and hard to show up for your kids that way. So, it's not selfish to want to change your life, and to want to make changes, and to maybe talk with, a dietitian, such as Georgia, or just really take a look at your lifestyle and make small changes. I always say, one small step still gets you to your destination. One small step at a time still gets you closer to where you want to be. I know you don't overhaul people's entire diets at once, because that's a lot, for someone to do, right?
And like some people want that, they wanted, but it's not sustainable. Like diets, they work for a certain period of time, but it's not going to be sustainable. So it's really nice to find 2, 3 things you start to work on, you master it, then we move to another thing. And then we kind of go back to basics, and then we can keep dialing it in. Like, maybe,
Yes.
like I said, sometimes maybe somebody's ready for this gut zoomer. Not everybody wants this, but then I have some people that eat the clean diet, they work out at the gym, they do yoga, right? They're doing all the right things, but those are the type that I get a lot that want to do the gut zoomer because they know that it's just that next step, and it makes sense because let's face it, when we become over 40, but I also see this in 18 and 20-year-olds because of the chronic stress, I think. The digestive sufficient hydrochloric acid decreases when we get over 40. So hydrochloric acid, it's that strong acid that comes up. But basically that keeps away a lot of pathogens. If that's decreasing, more pathogens are coming in, no matter how clean you eat, right? So that's why it's really important, because sometimes you can have a pathogen that you don't really even know you have
Hmm.
that's affecting your well-being, and it's just a virus or a bacteria or a parasite, right? So it's, or sometimes we learn people have yeast over, I mean, there's so many things you figure out from that.
It's incredible. It really is. It's eye-opening for me because one of those people that I think I try to eat healthy and I work out all the time and I try to follow, the right thing to do. And yet there's changes I need to make. And I'm glad to know about it because I had no idea that I had wheat sensitivity and the inflammation markers. I'm going to change some things there. And I'm hoping to feel better. I don't feel terrible, but I don't feel maybe optimal, as we talked about. My knees and certain other things, could be improved. And as you said, that's why not? Why shouldn't you know that? We only go around once in this life. So why not live our best life? Why not make it as, easy on ourselves as possible? Why should we make it more difficult through the choices that we make? And we have the ability, we have the power to change it.
You're right, exactly.
So if someone's interested in the gut zoomer, or if they just would like to talk with you, Georgia, where can they reach you?
VitalityNWC.com, which stands for
That's
Vitality Nutrition and Wellness Center.
all right. Thank you so much for joining us. I learned a lot and I thought I knew quite a bit about this, but that test blew me away. There's so much to it. And it's just such a good thing to be able to know what choices you should make and how to change your life to feel like your optimal self. And I appreciate your joining us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was great. I love talking about this.
I know you do. You're very passionate about it. Thanks so much. And
Bye.
Georgia Saler, dietitian nutritionist and owner of Vitality Nutrition and Wellness Center in Linwood. And again, she works one-on-one, in person, or online. And thank you for being with me today for Living Well with Robin Stoloff, empowering you to live a healthier life. I hope you will subscribe and I'll keep you posted on my most recent episode. And if you like this episode, please leave a comment. That really does help me and I appreciate it. So until I see you next time, keep living well.